of 2025. Let's see what sort of adventures that it has in store. And pace cars way through the corner. That wasn't the crest doing him dirty.
There right off the beginning is something you probably want to monopolize on right away, honestly, in a rain race.
Involved in that as well. Doden, I believe, is a newer racer. Oh, and that's a big crash coming out of the corner. Right as I was mentioning all of those racers, that the field. We saw him have that off-track moment not terribly long ago, and he has come back from a... Oh my God, that's a big wreck coming out of turn number 4. Multiple cars around. A little bit of contact going to Chris Montgomery as well. I saw that car kind of jerk around a little bit through that corner, but you can see Montgomery maybe got to size up a move on Colacio, as Colacio may try and get a move on. That is 5-6 cars covered by just about nothing on this racetrack. Nearly 4 wide through the corner. Look at Colacio going in way deep into turn 5. He's got to lose out on that spot on Chris Montgomery and maybe Colacio. Too low contact being... Weekly Formula V Weekend Warriors crash him up wreckfest at the checkered flag. May God have mercy on both Josh and I's graphics cards because he had dust. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. This is round number 7 of the season, coming to you today from Laguna, Seca. My name is Ron Maunz, and alongside me, working the comms and the cams, is Joshua Wilkie. And now, Josh, we're in the midst of a small little bit of the schedule where these tracks are definitely on the tighter and twistier end. And off the back of Let It On 1 week ago, we head to another L starting track that is really technical for these drivers. Laguna Seca hasn't hosted one of these Formula V Weekend Warriors races in quite some time, but I remember about a year ago, the last time this series ran here, it was a rather confusing race with some drivers running into some difficulties all throughout it. So I have a feeling that we're in for a pretty good one here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Laguna Seca always seems to offer a pretty unique challenge around here. You know, there's not too many tracks in the world like Laguna Seca. Also, there's not too much that can be said about Laguna Seca that hasn't been said. We've all raced here many times, probably since the very beginning of our racing careers when we were sitting in our parents' basements on a Nintendo or on a PlayStation playing Gran Turismo or Forza or any one of those other games. I don't think there are too many racing games created that don't involve or include this track in some way or another, because it is just so iconic and so unique and different, and pretty beautiful track as well. Been kind of under threat over the last few years, but it looks like we're past that stage now and back to racing, so pretty cool. But the V's, I think, are going to be pretty interesting around here. There's not a whole lot of drafting, like you were saying. This track is a lot more technical than some of the ones that we have visited previously, and not a whole lot of room to draft around here, so it really is going to be who can kind of get this track dialed.
Yeah, that is a very good point that you raised there, Josh. Trying to figure out who can reach their comfort zone quickest among everybody around this 2.23 mile or 3.6 kilometer road course, opened all the way back in 1957. It's had some pretty big alterations every now and then, but the current layout has been in use ever since 1996. And even with some of those modifications that were made a couple of years ago to add in some runoff areas around this track that scan the current scan of the track that we're running at here today, not updated with how the track really is in real life anymore, but still the same base layout, just the real life version has a bit more asphalt shoulders around the track than this one has here on iRacing. But this is still going to be a good one, and looking at a pretty stacked grid at the present moment. Tortolo, who's been on the comeback tour as of recent, back up at the top. He's off the back of 2 straight wins. Actually, I say 2 straight wins. Yeah, 2 straight wins at the Saxon Ring and VIR. Last week it was Jason Green getting the job done and led it on. But ever since he returned to this series for round 4 at the Saxon Ring, Tullo back up at the front, quick as always.
Yeah, he's always going to be quick for sure. And we are missing, a couple of our players here today. But Tullo right up at the front, where he's usually going to be here. Trying to see here, we got James Sheldon in there, Felix Samoas, who's coming to grips with this car, I believe. Jason Green, there he is. I hadn't seen him. He's down in 8th place. That's why I didn't see him. We'll definitely expect him to be moving up the ladder a little bit. Lasky as well, very quick driver. Ladar looks like he's kind of got this track's number today. So this is one of those tracks, again, that can sort of be a bit of a specialist track. I personally never really been able to come to grips with this place. I've gotten better at it over the years, but I wouldn't say I hate this place at all. I wouldn't even say I don't like it, but it's just not a place that I seem to be able to race well. I can get a good lap around here, but it always seems to be, mid-race, I just start understeering and kind of missing my points. I think it has a lot to do with just trying to push the car a little too hard sometimes as well. You push a little bit too hard in this track, you just start to kind of warm those tires up, and you really need your fronts to work around here.
And baking under the California sun, it is super easy to lose grip in those tires. Just looking at the moment in this practice session, the track temperature sat at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a cooker around this racetrack. 120 degrees, that is not going to be good news to the tires on these race cars. And they can build up temperature as well. You can see the small little grooves on the tires in these Formula Vs. This, along with the Formula Fords and some of the other cars that are on iRacing, in terms of road course cars, that is, have these groove tires. And when you have those grooves, it can kind of make it even harder to keep the tire temperatures as low as possible. You usually think, okay, yeah, it's racing. You want to make sure those tire temperatures are as hot as you can get them. Not true. You get to a certain point where it is so hot that it starts to get greasy. I've been around that block before, running around some blacktop racetracks where it is just so scorchingly hot that you feel like a dog running on a freshly polished wood floor. These drivers looking to try and avoid that at all costs, but with track temperatures that high, it's going to be rather easy to overheat them. So just taking it carefully around here, probably going to be the name of the game.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And the problem I've always kind of had around here, to be honest, is that just pushing a little bit too hard. You really got to get slowed down and get your exits right. If you kind of try to push it too hard, it's never going to work out for you. You're going to wear those fronts down. There's a lot of front grip needed around here to make these corners for sure. And by the end of the lap, your car's kind of screaming for it as well, I've noticed as well. So it's definitely a place that you want to make sure that you're getting slowed down, you get those exits correct every lap and throughout the entire race, instead of pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and trying to go faster and faster into the corner, which I think is kind of my problem, to be honest. I'm just pushing a little bit too hard sometimes.
I'll tell you what, going too quick around a racetrack is a problem that I will never have, because that implies that I would have to go quick around a racetrack to begin with. So that's not really an issue that I've ever had running around here. We'll say turn 6, the King heading onto the Rahal straightaway. Probably the biggest pain in the butt corner that you can experience on the iRacing platform. We'll probably give more of an in-depth track guide come time for this qualifying session that's coming up in the not too far off future. But with a minute and a half left to go in practice, I think we should probably take a look at the championship point standings. We're officially halfway through the season here from the Formula V Weekend Warriors. Lots of different drivers already getting their way into victory lane. Spec 2 has been incredibly competitive with 5 different drivers grabbing the 6 checkered flags thus far this season. Tortello, the only multi-time race winner. Here's how it looks in Spec 1. Jason Green, who won the last race of the season at Lebanon, he's been around all season. He's been a consistent force, and he is your championship leader. 487 points on the board. Nate Coliseo slotted in P2 at triple 4 points. Ethan Orr slotted in P3 at 398. Felix Samoa slotted in 4th. He was the early championship leader, but things haven't really gone to plan ever since then. He slotted in 4th with one of our very own here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, Mr. Guido Marzuki, rounding out your top 5. Look at Tortello there, slotted in P6. He only has 3 races thus far this season, and while things didn't go to plan at Lebanon 1 week ago, the 2 wins that he had in the previous 2 weeks, we need to keep our eyes on him throughout the rest of the season. Tor, he's always quick. I have a feeling here for season 2, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with yet again. Let's take a look at Spec 2, where it's been a bit more grounded in terms of how things have been shaking out there. It is Michelle Lynn in the championship lead, 363 points on the board. Chris Scriven slotted in P2, Brian Hansen, Josh Flores, and Dan Szynski rounding out our top 5. Should note that neither of the Szynskis are going to be racing here today. Second tries a charm on me pronouncing that. Dan saying in the YouTube chat that he's on baby duty, and his brother Brian at Blackhawk racing his real life Formula V. So we wish Brian all the best in his real life racing adventures, and hope Dan is enjoying the broadcast here today as he's on baby duty at the present moment. So that's how it's looking like in Spec 2. We'll know Michelle Lynn already has 4 wins up to this point. Holy cow. And a little bit funky here, but we can still take a look at Masters, where Jim Brewster is your championship leader at the present moment. He has 3 wins already this season. He had a little bit of WD-40 just...
And we're good.
There we go. The WD-40 worked, folks. Jim Brewster is your championship leader. 439 points on the board. Kurt Nunez slot in P2. Nick Tullo, Wayne Buttermore, Alan DeGassis. Rounding out your top 5, you'll look through the likes of Thomas Padua is slotted in 6th. Jurg Mani, who has not been very present throughout this season, is slotted in P7. Antonio Reese rounding out your 8 drivers currently classified in the Masters standings. Brewster, the series admin, clearly flexing his muscles. We may find ourselves in a rather funny position where we could have Jim Brewster in Masters and Michelle Lynn in Spec 2 both grab their respective championships as a series admins. I'm not sure if that's ever happened, which is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, that would be quite the... Yeah, you know what? It's a good thing, though, I think, when the admin wins, you know, and they're motivated and they're in a good mood. You're probably going to get good tracks. You're probably not going to get so many penalties, these kind of things. So it's a good thing when the admins are winning, and we like to see it. They're out there enjoying themselves. And once again, you know, got a really, really good field of drivers here. The V's always showing up for Saturday races, and you know, you can come join us here as well if you want to look into that. You can definitely hit us up on our YouTube channel, or you can go take a look at Weekend Warriors online there and sign up. And we have a couple other series as well that are always looking for drivers here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. But back to Samuel Parent here, just trying to warm up his tires, I think, for his first lap here on.
And try and hit the ground running in this solo qualifying session. These drivers have 4 laps and 15 minutes to try and get the job done. Track temperature is still burning hot at 121 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a scorcher. And with relative humidity at 10%, you usually think, okay, yeah, these drivers are going to be running through a bowl of soup. Not the case here today. It is going to be dry. It is going to be hot. And if I was out here on this racetrack in real life, I would be burned into a puddle by the end of this race. So it's gonna be tough. Absolutely. I mean, Josh, you're Canadian, so I feel like 121 degrees Fahrenheit, that seems like an oven.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. We don't get that hot up here. It's nice. We're up in British Columbia here. We get, you know, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. We get tons of snow. We get beautiful summers. It's a pretty good spot, to be honest. It's a pretty good spot. It doesn't get too hot here either most of the time. Although we have broken some records in the last couple of years, it has it's usually pretty darn nice. And yeah, definitely not quite as hot as Laguna Seca on a hot day. I would imagine that asphalt out there is just burning up at the moment here. Let's see if we can't find somebody to jump on board for a lap with here. Maybe we'll stick with someone and and wait till they're done their lap here and see if we can't do a quick onboard around here. We've all done so many laps around here before, but like we were kind of saying in the run-up, not an easy place to drive around, Ron. It seems to be like I can get a lap around here. I can go and get a break too if I really put my mind to it, but for some reason I always just fall apart during the race. I start understeering through this corner here. I start second-guessing myself through the kink and hitting the inside curb, and man, it's just a difficult track that you have to execute over and over again.
Yeah, it is super challenging, and there's really no corner around this racetrack that is similar to another. You look through, turn 1 is probably the easiest corner around this racetrack. It's a flat left-handed kink when you're going over the hill. Unless you're in, like, I don't know, a land speed record car heading through there at about 1,000 miles an hour, it's usually going to be rather easy to get that one correct. Even with the uphill, I feel like you have to have some pretty extenuating circumstances to have an off-track excursion heading off through there. Here's the Andretti hairpin. And I mentioned not terribly long ago in this broadcast how this track has had some pretty major alterations. The Andretti hairpin, before that, the track basically took a shortcut from turn 2 all the way through to turn 5 around this racetrack. So it's had some pretty big changes over the years. But Josh, I will pass it off to you to do a quick little lap guide with Tortolo.
Yeah, absolutely. This corner, T1, being one of the more difficult corners on the track to get right. Really need to get it slowed down, keep it tight to the inside just like Tor did. Basically just shortening the track there. Want to get as wide as you can on exit. Heading up into T2, one of my just absolutely can never get this corner right. You really need to slow down as much as possible. Get that exit correct. If you hustle it too much, you end up going too wide, lose a bunch of time. Same thing with this corner here. You really want to get it tucked in there. Make sure you're getting up to that bollard nice and close. Get on that power as soon as possible. Another left-hander, basically the same as the last two right-handers. Get it really tight right into that bollard on the gases as soon as you possibly can here for probably one of the biggest runs. Not exactly the best place for a pass though, and then into the kink. You got to get this just right. You're going flat through here if you get it right. If you get it wrong, you're hitting that inside bollard and getting shot to the outside. Touch a little bit of dirt on the outside and it's always going to be slower. One of the best passing opportunities here up into the corkscrew. If you have the cojones to do it, you can get it done into here, getting it slowed down as much as possible into the kink, or sorry, into the corkscrew there, getting it just right for Tortolo there. Really easy to overshoot that one off the first part of it, miss the second, and then just have a terrible exit. And then another sort of carbon copy of the T1 and T2 into the second last corner there, except that one's bowled out and you can just hit it super quick. And then into probably the closest thing to a hairpin on this corner here, into the last corner, which also is going to be your best drag strip here to get a draft done into T1, Ron.
And thank you very much for that lap guide around this gem of a racetrack. You mentioned some of the trouble spots. The turn 6 kink heading onto that right haul straightaway right before the corkscrew is probably, it's a corner that haunts my nightmares, if I'm being completely honest. Running around here, you brought up that curb on the inside. Some of the red anti-cut curbs around this track, especially in these Formula Vs. I mean, those curbs, well, we got a good view of this from Jason Green heading his way off through turn number 6. And yeah, there you can see that is about as close as you can dare. Any closer, you get close to that curb and it could pop you up into the air. I remember one time running a Formula 3 car around here in a test session, hit that curb, I popped up into the air, and I crashed into the outside tire barrier so hard that it actually crashed my sim. Which is very good reasoning why I'm usually behind a microphone instead of behind the wheel. But those anti-cut curves, including this one here in turn number 10, they are absolutely brutal.
Yeah, definitely. You know, in a V, you might get away with it. You might get away with bumping that. You know, you have a bit of a movement. You might even be able to stay on the track. But in something like an F3 car, it's going to send you flying. That bump is huge. You're going through there at, 100-something kilometers an hour. And it's going to send you flying. Maybe in a V you get away with it. You know, even in a GT3 car, that is a big bump on the inside. You're going to feel it. It's going to be a scary moment for sure. So you want to stay off those. You don't want to hit them. They're slow, and at the very worst, they're going to wreck your day. So you want to definitely make sure you stay off them. We see Jason Green just kind of flirting with them going into T3 here and got that one just perfect. You can see the line through there. It's a little bit counterintuitive. You want to hustle that corner. Same with this one. Bit of a late apex going into that one as well. It's a little bit deceiving. If you apex it too early, you just can't get the exit correct, and sort of the same thing into this one. It is definitely a driver's track around here. It seems easy, from the beginning, probably from all those days we played Forza Motorsports and GT and everything, and you think you're going quick around here. Really, there's only one line, and it's kind of a counterintuitive line run.
Yeah, this is a track where you really have to get your brain wired to get as much pace as you can out around here. And looking at some very quick drivers running at the present moment, here is your P2 runner in the Spec 2 category. That is Michelle Lynn occupying the final spot inside the top 10. Andrew Love is your current provisional Spec 2 pole sitter. Tortolo in... oh boy, let me just start from the top there. Tortolo in the number 1 car is currently qualified in P1 at a 141.371. He's quick. Samuel Parent in the number 18 car slotted in second. Jason Green, A. Coliseo running at the top 4 at the present moment, with Alan DeGasse as your present Masters pole sitter. That's looking at the present moment. It's not a whole lot of drivers out here on the racetrack, getting into real life racing season, getting into the spring as well. First ever broadcast of this series in May of 2025, and we got a whole lot of action to look forward to throughout the rest of this month and the second half of this season as well. Tortolo clearly confident in his qualifying time. He's towed back to pit lane, so that's going to do it for him. Let's see if anyone else will be able to usurp the driver who already has 2 wins up to this point in the season, and despite skipping out on the first couple of rounds, he is definitely gunning for that championship. The real question is, will the 2-time reigning champion here from the Formula V Weekend Warriors have the time and have the ability to make it 3 straight?
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy one. You know, it's not easy, even if you are kind of, you know, there's only a few guys out there that are really pointy every single race, but that means you have to be pointy every single race, even if you do have, you know, hypothetically the good car or something like F1, or you have to go out and execute. Nonetheless, it's not easy. It's 2 hours of executing perfectly, or in this case, half an hour of executing perfectly, and that's not easy, Ron. Even if you are good, it's track after track, week after week, learning something new, making sure you go out there and execute. So it's not an easy one, and I think you know, Thor's got a pretty good handle on it. But you know, right behind him we got Jason Green, we have Nate Coliseo, a few other people there who, if they put it together, get a little more consistent every race, could very easily be taking this championship. But you know, Thor, I believe, being in 6th place now, I would imagine he's going to be up in the points, in the championship positions here within a race or two.
Yeah, and he will have to hope to have a flawless end to this season if the driver of the number 1 car wants to go for 3 straight championships. He can get his 3rd win, though, here at Laguna Seca, that is for sure. And if he starts his second half of the season off strong with a victory, that will count for him pretty well when it comes to that championship fight. Also, just looking through some of the qualifying results that we've had thus far this season, as much as it's been rather diverse when it comes to the race winners, at least in Spec 1, hasn't been too diverse when it comes to Spec 1 pole sitters. Jason Green is leading that regard. He's already had 3 poles this year, that coming at Cadwell Park for round number 1, Summit Point for round number 3, and then last time I had led it on for race number 6 of this season. Felix Samoas has 2 poles in rounds 2 at Magny Core and round 5 at VIR. Tortolo did grab a pole upon returning to the series at the Saxon Ring. Felix Samoas, though, he was a man on a mission last time by, did not get to the pole, but that was a pretty good lap time of 141.802. Looking through, I believe he still has a couple of laps in his back pocket here, Josh. We may have to talk about Felix Samoas grabbing his 3rd pole. He's quick.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely come to terms with this car for sure. We saw him a few minutes ago down in the lower ranks here, and pretty easily putting himself up right near the top of the podium here for qualifying. And you know, this guy is fast in everything. I race him in the Spec Racer Fords on the weekend, and he's untouchable, at least for me. I can't get anywhere near the amount of speed that he's able to extract out of those cars. Just absolutely perfect. If you watch his laps, he is millimeter perfect on the paint, taking every little exit road and everything you can take in every corner, and he's just so smooth and fast. Really good driver. I would expect to see him up near the front as well. And he's kind of a little new to this machinery, I think, at least here at the Weekend Warriors. So it looks like he's coming to terms with it. And he's going to be up near the pointy end. It's going to make things a lot more difficult for Tor up there for sure, and for Jason.
I think I remember Felix Samoas in a chat that we had with him after the Week 13 V runoffs at the end of Season 1. We were running at Monza, the junior course at Monza, and Felix decided to show up in all 3 races and got oh so close to pulling off the triple. The only race he didn't win was the Spec Racer Fords. I think he only came up a couple hundredths of a second from winning that race, and Felix said to his own admission after that that was one of the first times he had run in the Formula V machinery here on iRacing. Not an improvement on that second time, and with time running out here, that'll be borderline as to whether or not he'll be able to get another lap on the board. This being a solo qualifying session, you don't have extra time. Once that 15 minutes is done and dusted, all the drivers, no matter whether you're on a push lap, whether you're on a warm-up lap, a cool-down lap, doesn't matter. You get going back to pit lane and it switches over to the race. So I'm not sure if Felix Moes will have more time to get another time on the board. So that may be P4 for Felix Moes. That's still a pretty good starting spot for the beginning of this race.
Yeah, definitely. These starting spot, I would say 4th place. You're not going to be in 4th place for too long. We know how these things go. They kind of leapfrog each other back and forth. I would imagine down the front straight there, we're going to see a bunch of lead changes and stuff back and forth. So 4th place is a pretty good spot to be. That being said, it does sort of show the pace of the cars here, right? So you've got 141.8 to a 141.3. And with clear air in front of you, if you can put a 41.3 in versus a 41.8, you just got the track under control a little bit more. Thor's probably out there just being a little bit more relaxed and stuff, not having to work for those corners. Or, as far as we know, Felix has kind of found something out there, and during the race, he's going to be able to execute that. But usually it's a pretty good indication. That's a fairly large gap for these cars in free air, even to second place in Samuel Parent. So I'd say Thor, he's really got the number today.
As I look through the times that are being put on the board, Samoa's oh so close to crossing the line there, but just did not have enough time to set in yet another qualifying time. We'll say one driver that we may need to keep tabs on is probably going to be Jason Perry. He's going to be starting this race all the way down in P15, but it was actually P2 in that practice session earlier on. May have to talk about some hard chargers throughout this race coming up here today, but to get this racing action underway for round number 7 of this Formula V Weekend Warriors season, let's take a look at the starting grid, where it's going to be Tortolo starting from the pole in the number 1 machine. The 141.371 that he set there, going to be untouchable in that qualifying session. Let's see how we can do in the race. Samuel Parents will join him on the front row in the number 18 car. The Canadian will start right in front of the second row, which is comprised of Jason Green and Felix Samoas. Those two have traded blows many times in the past when it comes to battling in series here in the Weekend Warriors. Let's see how it goes here at Laguna Seca. Nate Colacio will start in 5th. Andrew Love, grabbing your Spec 2 pole, will start in 6th. Guido Marzuki starts in 7th. Kane Lasky we have starting in P8. James Sheldon will start in 9th. Next to Alan DeGassis, our Masters pole sitter, riding out our top 10. Oh, Mr. Wilkie, do we have a copy on you?
My mic was muted. So that might be the first time I've done that. So I've joined the club here. In P12, we have Michelle Lynn, Duldime Racing, and series admin. P13, we have Ethan Orr. P14, we have Jim Brewster. In P15, Jason Perry. In P16, Christopher Serrano. In P17, Kurt Nunez. P18, we have Jeff Jacobson. P19, we have Nick Tullo. And in P20, we have Travis Rail.
And then continuing on the rest of the field, it continues with David Tamira, the Indonesian behind the wheel of the 214 car. He will start in 21st, next to Spencer Bowden in 22nd. Russ Telker, the sponsor of today's broadcast here, will start in 23rd. Jason Grider will start in P24. Did not set time in that qualifying session earlier on. And that rounds out our starting grid. We'll note David Tamira and James Matthew Sheldon both did not take to the grid for this very short formation lap. That pace car has already come down pit lane. The field now in the hands of our front row sitters, and it's very disorganized. From the drop of the green flag, we may get some penalties to talk about. That was a big jump from Samos. He's slotted P2 as a green flag is that, and the drivers are on their way. Tortello trying to hold on to the race lead, but the draft is just strong enough where these drivers can go for a move. Heading down into turn number one. Morzuki coming in very hot. That's not going to work at all in the 19. Wilkie, okay, he kept it off the racetrack. Coliseo, he's off the track. That's coming out of turn number 2. That's a big off-track moment for the driver who started right towards the front of the field. James Matthew Sheldon has rejoined this race. He started from the pits, not entirely sure what happened to him, but that was a wild ride from Morzuki from the drop of the green flag. I think he may have had some assistance there, Josh.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're probably right. It was either maybe in reaction to someone or possibly a bump, but we'll have to go back and have a look at a hardware failure. I thought for sure we were about to play bowling there for a minute, but nope, he was able to keep it out of everybody in the front. So good on Guido there to control that one and not end up just bowling pinning everyone there. That was a pretty close one, Ron.
Oh, that could have ended in an absolute disaster. Morzuki had to cut that wheel as far as he could to the left to make sure that he wouldn't have a round of bowling heading down into the Andretti hairpin. It worked out pretty okay for the drivers at the front of the field. The Tortello, our pole sitter, is still your race leader coming out of turn number 9. And looking through, no drivers picked up any sort of penalties as a result of that very disorganized start. It was a pretty big jump from Samoas for him to jump his way up into P2. That is going to be a battle of the Titans between those two competitors. Samuel Perrin still running strong at the moment. He slotted a P3, the driver of the 18 car, as that's a big moment for Brewster heading out of the final corner. Christopher Siriano has also picked up a piece of that in the 314 car. A driver who I haven't seen before in this Formula V Weekend Warrior Series, having a big moment coming out of the final turn. That's going to give a side-by-side fight now with Morzuki and Ethan Orr down into turn number 2. Not sure what happened there. I think it may have been multiple different incidents going on at the exact same time for those drivers. Tough luck nonetheless, as I think Travis Rail may have just had a moment. He's dropping down the running order too.
Yeah, we have a bunch of stuff to catch up with here on. That was a pretty eventful first lap. We may have missed a couple things there too, but I'm definitely seeing some off tracks and some accidents here as well. Maybe we'll start with Guido here and see what the heck went wrong. Hopefully we're gonna catch it here. It looks like it's going to be in reaction to something. Yes. So a little inconclusive there, but it looks like maybe a bit of a checkup in front of him, and he just decided to kind of go off to the right there, or off to the left. Let's have a quick look in the roll bar. I think maybe he was expecting a stacking here. Yep. And he just and was able to keep it off everybody. So good on him to be able to keep it off everybody. And he's actually still in the fight here, fighting for a top 10 position. So not too shabby on that one. But we'll move on here to, I believe it was Serrano was the next one that we saw.
Yeah, Serrano, and based off the fact that he was right behind Jim Brewster, I think there may have been some contact. You can see Coliseo running wide out of turn number 10. Down into 11, let's see, is it a tap? It is a tap, and it sends the both of them around, and that was a pretty big jolt as well. I was thinking that Morzuki got a piece of that action because there was a pretty big gap between Morzuki and Ethan Orr, and then after that, they immediately went side by side down the start-finish straightaway, and here it was. Let's follow Morzuki and his perspective on all this. You can see the contact made between Siriano and Brewster. Got a piece of that. He runs off through the gravel, has to rejoin the racetrack with that compromised run heading down the start-finish straightaway, which by and large is the longest flat-out blast around this track by a pretty healthy margin. Having a bad exit out of there is going to spell disaster before you have to hit the brakes into turn 2.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really, really easy place to stack up as we see Travis Rail just the edge of grip there, and then unfortunately Sheldon and Telker are going to get into him. That's really too bad right there. We'll take a quick look from Russell's point of view here, and then we'll get back to live pictures, but I don't think there was a whole lot they could have done here, unfortunately. Not an easy corner to get right, Ron, especially in the first couple laps. Oh, he's almost avoided it. So close.
Yeah, that's the thing when it comes to these Formula V cars. To be competitive, you have to keep the momentum going all the time, regardless of what kind of hazards may lie ahead. You just have to lick the stamp and send it off into every single turn. Yep. He had to do that to try and keep the momentum rolling. In the process of all that, he lost it all with that contact. That's going to be an unfortunate moment for Russ. He is a sponsor of today's broadcast, and sadly, the sponsor jinx striking him pretty bad. He, I believe, will be our first retirement from this race. Of the 23 that actually took the start, David Tamira in the 2:14 did not start this race and didn't even take it to the formation lap. At the front of the field, though, Tortolo and Felix Samoa's going to give us a good battle to talk about 3/10 of a second between those two. The smoke going up in the air as they bang through the gears. They've broken away from Jason Green, who's now slotted in P2. A titanic battle going on right behind these drivers, though. Looking at Alan DeGassis and Nate Colascio battling tooth and nail, with Andrew Love and Michelle Lynn, the top two, and Spec 2 involved in this battle as well.
Yeah, this looks like where the action is, I think. These guys have been kind of in a row here for at least a lap or two since the beginning. And it looks like we're going to remain that way for a little while here. Andrew Love getting a really good look at perhaps what Colascio is planning on DeGassis here. Looks like he's definitely wanting that position from DeGassis. He feels like he's quicker. We know Colascio has some speed, so I would imagine he's kind of trying to unleash himself right here. And sometimes that can be pretty difficult, as we see getting as close as he can here through the kink, even taking a little bit of the dirt on entry. You know, that if you can get away with it like that, why not? It is opening the corner a little bit. I don't think he really lost any speed there, but it looks like we're going to see Colascio go for a move here on DeGassis. He's going to get it done before the corkscrew run. Nice one.
Yeah, that is a pretty good move. Taking that run and going for it. Nate Colascio, a very quick driver, but yet to grab a victory thus far this season. Colascio, we have experience covering races with Colascio for a couple of seasons now in the Formula V Weekend Warriors. That driver of the number 8 Chiquita Banana car is quick week in and week out. Sometimes he can be his own worst enemy, but hey, it's racing. Gotta get caught up in the red mist from time to time. And speaking of red mist, it's very much so descended upon these racers. Kurt Nunez and Jim Brewster, they're battling for P15 overall and P2 and P3 in that Masters category. They're side by side, getting held up a teeny tiny bit from Samuel Parent, who has had a real brutal start in that number 18 car. But let's see how this battle is going to shake out with Brewster and Nunez down into the Andretti hairpin. Brewster going to hold on to that inside line, very close to making contact, but Brewster going to get that move done.
Yeah, he's going to get that done. That was some close corners driving there between Nunez and Brewster for pretty much that whole lap. Nunez was nose to tail between the two cars, kind of moving around in between them there for a minute. It was definitely a bit of a clenching moment there for sure, but able to get away with it. Brewster always going to drive you as close as humanly possible. That's the way he likes to drive. I love racing him like that too. It's so much fun. You get in there, you know he's going to attack you. You know he's going to push you into that corner, and it's just a consummate racer right there, and he got a position out of it for sure. Got a little bit aggressive, and he's able to get that position. So let's see if Jim can't move forward a little bit more. Perhaps Nunez can come at him here into the corkscrew. Looks like he's going to have a chance.
Yeah, I'm not sure if a third Masters win this season is really on the cards for Jim Brewster, based off the fact that your current Masters leader of Alan DeGassis is well farther up the road. But hey, I've seen stranger things. Here's Jason Perry in the Spider-Man car, the number 97. I talked about him right at the end of that qualifying session. I mentioned how he was the second quickest driver in practice. He set a 1 minute 41.5, which was about a second slower than his qualifying time. Should be noted, obviously, in practice, get the advantage of having the draft. And plus, in race conditions, he just seemed to have a very quick car, and he's certainly proving that right now. Started this race in P15, is slotted in P12 as it stands at the present moment, and putting some moves on his competitors as well. That was side by side between Perry and Parvinder Ladar, heading off to the corkscrew. Perry getting the move done.
Yeah, that was a great move into the corkscrew. You really got to send it basically into that one. You just got to make it happen, and you did have a little off track there, but honestly, it's basically okay through that track. At least I believe it is anyway. If you have a little off track through the corkscrew passing somebody, well, that's just kind of the way you pass people through the corkscrew, and it's going to happen every once in a while. Obviously, you want to try to keep it tight, and it will give you a hold if you go too off track, but you got away with that one, able to get that one done, and not a big deal there at all. But I have a feeling that Parvinder Ladar is not going to let that one sit, Ron, as we're starting to get pretty close up front here, I think, too, as Samoas and Thor are side by side.
And here we go down into the corkscrew. Tortolo going to remain in the race lead. Felix Samoa is slotting behind in P2. This is going to be a brilliant battle between these two competitors. Samoas and Tullo not really involved in the championship battle as it stands at the present moment. Jason Green really holding all the cards when it comes to that debate, but he's in a tricky spot as well. You can find him as the Pied Piper of this massive hornet's nest of race cars. Right behind Green is Coliseum. Right behind Coliseum is Kane Lasky. Then you've got the likes of Masters leader Alan DeGassis, Spec 2 leader Andrew Love, the rear gunner of this battle, and Michelle Lynn dropping down a little bit in the 215 car. So let's see how that's all going to shake out between now and the end of this race. Still a tick under 20 left to go. That's Kane Lasky blinking and out of existence. No harm, no foul then. He'll just need to curse at his cable company. Side by side racing at the front of the field though between Green and Coliseum. This is a battle for the final podium spot. Green going to withstand that challenge for now.
Yeah, that's probably the best passing opportunity there into T1 if you can get it right. And Coliseum looking to, it looks like he kind of went for it a little bit there, but Jason Green able to get on the brakes a little bit later, and able to hold on to that position. But this is going to be a pretty good battle, I think, here for third place. So it looks like we're going to probably be following this one probably till the end of the race, I would think. Lasky looking like he wants a piece of it as well. And then just behind that we have DeGassis and Andrew Love. We're also going to want to get in this. DeGassis in 6th place in Masters today. So seeing those Masters drivers kind of move up the grid a little bit, again, near the front of the grid is great. But it looks like Lasky's going to be looking for it. Hopefully we don't get too many blanks out of him anymore. That's always a difficult thing to deal with as a competitor when you're the driver who's millimeters off your bumper or in front of you is blinking in and out of existence, Ron.
And Nate Coliseum is feeling a whole lot of pressure in that number 8 car. He's in the midst of a sandwich. He is so close to getting a move done on Jason Green. I think he'll go for it yet again off into turn number 2 in a couple of moments' time. He's getting a lot of pressure from the 09 of Kane Lasky right behind. If any of these drivers have a little trip up, they're going to be in for a world of trouble. Something's going on with Michelle, and what it is the fact that she has lost the draft. That gap has ballooned out. It was about a second and a half one lap ago. It's now 2.7 seconds. So the driver of the 215 car, proving that the draft is super vital in these Formula V races, as no drivers going for the dive down into turn number 2. Jason Green withstanding this pressure for now. This is a very well composed drive from Jason. He's been oh so close to winning the championship the past 2 seasons here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors. Was involved in that championship battle with Tortolo back in season number 4 of 2024. Didn't really come up his way. Season 1 of 2025, as far as I'm concerned, was a one that got away for Jason Green. He imposed a race ban on himself after an incident at Lebanon with himself and championship rival Tortolo. Tor ended up winning the championship. Tor actually skipped out on a couple races last season as well, and some real-life racing commitments that took him out of the sim. But Jason, I think he's looking to get that championship this season. It's looking good for him in the first half. Let's see how it goes in the second. Speaking of, we're getting to the start of the second half of this race, and Felix Samoas wants to be in that advantageous position, wants to be in that race lead come time for that 15-minute mark. He just got that moved on Tolo to take the race lead. Yep,
that was a pretty standard there to as we see Perry, and I believe that's Samuel Parent going wheel to wheel. So Perry making some moves definitely up front. We see Jim Brewster cutting shapes in the background there on Parvinder Ladar as well. He's definitely putting some pressure on him, but yeah, it looks like Samoas has decided, Ron, to take the lead of the race, see if he's got a, just, sometimes leading the race like that, you just want to do it. Make sure you got that free area. You want to show your competitor, hey, I can lead the race here. Maybe I can even pull away. Maybe I can even force you into a mistake by going super quick in front of you, as we see Brewster once again kind of leaving the track a little bit there, looking for a position. And Jeff Jacobson's going to be right beside him here into T1.
Yeah, look at Kurt Nunez in the 918 car. He's going to look to try and pick up the pieces if these two come to blows. They got close to it, and they touch again. That time, heading into the Andretti hairpin, Jim Brewster having to break the elbows as to hold on to that P14 spot. Jeff Jacobson probably not going to be happy about that maneuver. Brewster ran wide coming out of the final corner, and that kicked off that battle in the first place. At the front of the field, though, Tortolo back into the race lead. Felix Samoa is slotted in second. The thing is, as much as a move heading off into the corkscrew is easy and you could get it done, you're just going to get re-overtaken, hang down that start-finish straightaway. So what we're seeing these drivers do is test the water for the end of this race. Samoa's yet again side by side with Tolo heading through the rahal straightaway. Samoa is going to clear him before they even think about getting into the braking zone, down into the corkscrew. Man, the English language is not my strong suit on today's broadcast, clearly. That's Colacio running wide through the corkscrew. That's not going to be the good rally line.
Yeah, he was, just a lap before this, I saw Colacio just send it through the corkscrew. He's actually had 3 wheels off the ground. He almost had two wheels off the ground at one point through the corkscrew, and I think he set it up. He's like, you know what, I can brake really late into here. I got a good line through here, and he got it done. Jason Green, being the thinking driver that he is, pretty much let him have that one. He saw him coming up the inside. He's like, you know what, I want to live to fight another day here. Race isn't over, so I'm going to I'm going to let him through there. And bringing it back actually just to Jim Brewster and I believe it was Jeff Jacobson here. This is definitely when a movable object meets the what is it, unstoppable force, I believe. Very, very same type of driver here, and they're still playing games with each other. So, again, that's the same type of driver there meeting each other. Both of these guys never going to give an inch when it comes to a battle. They want every inch of the track. There seems to be a little bit of fire underneath the brim every once in a while, and that's exactly how it's going to end almost every time. You saw Jim Brewster sort of slide back into position there where Jeff Jacobson's been working. He's been putting in work in that position, and now Jim Brewster's beside him, and you got to be cool-headed about stuff like that. If you start to get all fiery about it, that's what's going to happen. And those two drivers like to race really hard. You get 2 of them together in the same piece of road, it's going to end up like that a lot of the time, and we saw a lot of contact between those two in 2 laps.
Yeah, and that completely blew that pack apart. Jim Brewster and Kurt Nunez now separated by about 3.5 seconds. Jeff Jacobson, he's dropped down like a rock as a result of that collision. That was just overly aggressive racing, heading down into the Andretti hairpin of turn 2. Jeff Jacobson's quick, but sometimes he can really get into his own head when it comes to these battles. I think he just got to move done on Nick Tullo. He's certainly going to be a man on a mission. I want to take a look at a replay to see this moment. You could tell it was dramatic based off the fact that sounded very, very disturbed. I'm not sure whether it was a ghost scream or what that I let out when we saw these drivers come to blows. That just was not going to work from Jacobson. There just was not enough room there. No, yeah, again, you can't get that close to someone and expect not to get into an. You're basically forcing an accident at that point. You're getting in there and going, okay, I'm going to make you brake in front of me so I hit you and I can blame it on you after maybe. I'm not exactly sure what the thought process there is, but that's definitely not great racing there out of those two for a lap or two. Sometimes, we all do it. It gets in our head. I've been there before. You get a little bit fiery under the brim and you decide, you know what, I'm going to get really close to this guy and just show him, and then, the next thing you know, you're sideways on the track, and I think that's kind of what happened there, Ron. Yeah, as much as I kind of said that Jeff Jacobson shouldn't have gone for that move, I also think that Jim taking that shallow approach down into turn number 2 wasn't going to work out at all. Both of those drivers contributed to that accident. That was not criminal and victim. That was really just murder and accessory in terms of 2 predators. Yep. That was a terrible pun for me. Yep, 2 predators basically, right? You can't really blame either one of them. They're out there fighting for what it is, and you're exactly right there, Ron. He decided to take that shallow line down inside and really block it, and it's just, like I said, the immovable object and the unstoppable force, and that's exactly what's going to happen when you try to play those games. It's a push and pull out there. It takes 2 to have accidents like that. It takes 2 to make a pass work correctly, and you got to work together out there sometimes. But moving on here to Colacio, leading pretty well up front here now in 3rd place. He's been able to hold on to that for a bit as we're watching Jason Green kind of slip back a little bit. Wondering if maybe that is a strategy from Jason Green. Get back, have a look at things a little, maybe not look quite as intimidating to Colacio right till the end. Potentially, that could be what we're seeing from Jason Green. That, or he's like, you know what? I'm going to allow Nate Colacio and Kane Lasky to have their own battle right in front of me, and I'm going to pick off the pieces if they come to blows. Nate Colacio and Kane Lasky, very, very quick drivers. We kind of we've been talking about it a little bit in reference. As you can see, a big curb whack from Coliseum heading off through turn number 4 down this small little flat out stretch into 5. I will check to see whether or not he picked up a slowdown. No, very lucky from Coliseum, the fact he avoided that slowdown hammer. But the point that we've been talking about in reference to that Brewster and Jacobson fight about an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, kind of have that going on with Coliseum and Lasky. They're very quick drivers. They're pretty aggressive, though, as well. And I think Jason Green, Alan DeGassis, and Andrew Love, who are all drivers who are a bit more on the, you know what, I'm going to let everything go on around me and pick up the pieces towards the end. They're kind of looking at this thinking, you know what, I don't want to be involved in all this. And with that side-by-side racing heading off through the corkscrew, nearly ending in tears, they may not get a chance to see those drivers battle up in front. That was tooth and nail, and you can see how much that gap has grown in the span of just a couple of corners.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what happens. You get a little too defensive, or you start looking for that position a little too much, and you just lose time, especially to people who are, say, driving a little more efficiently in front of you. But, you know, great driving from all these guys at the front here, all the guys in this pack here as well, through the corkscrew and stuff, staying off each other so well, giving each other room. That's racing right there. You want to be able to give each other room and make the moves that you can make, not the ones that you can't make. One of our really good rules somebody told me once when I first started this is it's your fault if you hit something you can see. If you can see something in front of you and you hit it, it's your fault. And I've always kind of looked at it like, even if it's not my fault, it's my fault. And that's just sort of the way that I play iRacing. So if somebody runs into the back of me and takes me out, I go look at it afterwards once I'm done being angry at that person or myself. And I go back and look at it and I go, okay, what could I have done differently? Could I have avoided that? How do I protect my equipment? And that's what you should be thinking about there. And that's what you're kind of seeing in these drivers up near the front here as well. They're driving around each other pretty well, but nobody's really making contact because you want to keep that machinery as clean as possible till the end.
And that's a super important note to raise about these Formula V races. If you have a clean show, you'll be fine. If you keep those instant points down to a minimum as well, you can also pick up some pretty nice bonus points in the championship discussion as well. So pretty good incentive to keep it clean. And plus, with these races, I mean, think of the amount of drama we've had thus far. Looking through, we had those 3 drivers of Brewster, Nunez, and Jacobson all kind of blowing apart not terribly long ago. They have all dropped down, so hey, if you're in a good spot, you can make up those spots there. So it works out pretty well for these drivers if they can just hang on and be there at the very end of this race. In a series like the Formula V Weekend Warriors, the phrase to finish first you have to finish really can ring true for these drivers. That's the adage they like to have burned into their head week after week and race after race. Here we go. We've got a fight. That's Green taking a monstrous run, heading down that start finish straight away. Lasky slipping in behind Coliseum. Green on the outside trying to go for a 2-for-1 deal down into the Andretti hairpin. That's not really going to work out. You just don't have that momentum. I say that though. Lasky taking a shallow exit. That's not going to help out his cause one bit. And there's Jason Green getting that move done in the 160 car to jump his way back up into P4. He is playing that championship game as much as Tortello, maybe in P2 and only a 10th and a half off of your race leader of Felix Samoas. If he can just have a good second half of this season, it doesn't need to be fantastic. He can just hang on to that race lead, hang on to those good spots, and be able to hang on when it comes to that championship discussion as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great pass there from Jason Green. You can see Kane Lasky really heads up driving there to into T1. He sort of saw Jason Green pull out, and he kind of threw a pickup basically there. He sort of plugged Lasky, and he just wasn't really able to make a move, and he saw that. You know, it's again, you have to notice these things. We see him taking a bite out of Coliseum here, not quite getting her done, but he's going to, so he pushes him wide there, kind of made him not be able to take that corner quite so well. Wasn't quite able to get it done though, but some really heads up driving from everybody here in the front pack, just driving around each other so well. Lasky or Jason just able to get that done through the Andretti hairpin. It's very interesting to watch them go through there, and the 2 or 3 different lines you can take through that corner, and it's kind of interesting to see some of them work sometimes there. I wasn't expecting that to work, but it did, Ron.
As we see these drivers go side by side, Coliseum and Green heading down into turn number 1, about to hit the braking zone of the Andretti hairpin. And Jason Green on the outside, he made this move work on Kane Lasky 1 lap ago. Let's see if he'll be able to get it done on Coliseum. No, Coliseum taking that advantage, having that distance between himself and the front of Jason Green's car to just take that wide exit, keep that momentum rolling, and not be stalled out heading down into turn number 3. We'll note that Spencer Bowden has had some sort of moment in the 513 car. He's dropped down the running order, currently out of it, slotted in 21st. So something is going on with the Canadian behind the wheel of that 513 car. What it is isn't exactly clear at the present moment, but at the front of this pack, it is still pandemonium. I wonder if we're going to see Alan DeGassis and Andrew Love maybe pounce in this situation as well. Two drivers who don't really have much to gain when it comes to pouncing in this battle. Andrew Love holding on to the Spec 2 lead. Alan DeGassis holding on to the Masters lead. And who knows, maybe a podium spot, an overall podium, would be better than just winning in their class. Again, to anyone new to this series, these drivers are scored based off their overall finishing position, not based off where they finish in class. So P3 means the exact same for a Spec 1, Spec 2, or Masters driver. So who knows, we may see those drivers pounce. Maybe they're just going to hold off and watch these drivers that in front of them start to battle hard.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, they have a pretty good show to watch right now for sure. And that's kind of my favorite position to be in, honestly, is sort of where they are, where you can kind of sit back. You know, you're going to get a pretty good result anyway. So it's not a, you know, not a big deal if you don't dive for a position or something. So you're pretty confident where you are, or content, sorry, where you are. But you could always, you know, you could always get another position too. And you might as well kind of just get a little pointy and see if you can get one. Don't take too much risk. And every once in a while, you know, these guys are going to make contact, or you can put just enough pressure on them that they do make contact, and you can get a couple positions out of it. So I would say they're probably in some of the better positions here, along with Lasky as well. He seems to be driving very cerebral today. Lasky's out there observing by the looks of it. You know, we see him a lot of the time being really, really aggressive. Maybe not really aggressive, but being fairly aggressive. And looks like today he's out there looking for a position. He wants to get in front of these two guys by the end of the race, I think.
As much as he may be having those flagrant connection issues as he blinked in and out of existence yet again, hang down into turn number 5. It's still a good amount of pace that we're seeing from the driver of the 09 car. He's also getting his eye in for that Formula Ford Weekend Warriors race at this very same racetrack in about 24 hours time here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. At the front of the field, it is pandemonium with Jason Green and Nate Coliseum battling hard off into the corkscrew, and Felix Samoza and Tortolo have also reignited their fight as well. They're covered by practically nothing with Samoza in the race lead.
Yeah, looks like we got another pass done there into the corkscrew here for Samoza. I'm not sure if that's where he got it done, but he's been able to get out in front of Tor. And I think these guys are basically just playing leapfrog with each other. They're not putting too much pressure on each other yet. They're letting those passes come kind of organically and kind of moving forward. And that's exactly what you want to do out here for sure, is you want to make sure that you're kind of pulling away from this pack in front. You know, it looks like they have sort of an insurmountable gap at the moment, but honestly, it's only 5 seconds. That's one mistake, one little mistake. And, you know, you lost 3 of those seconds, and all of a sudden, oh boy, I'm under pressure now. And that's as easy as it could happen. We are getting pretty close to the end of the race here, so as long as they can hold it together. But you can see, you know, that other pack of cars is still right there. That's one mistake away from an absolute hornet's nest of V's on your butt.
And whenever I think of hornets on my butt, I get bad flashbacks to a incident with a slide at a playground in my neighborhood where my dad ended up getting stung to crap by a bunch of bees. Good note to anyone designing a playground: don't leave room for a bee's nest to go on right under a plastic slide that creates quite a lot of static electricity. My dad and I can attest that is usually a recipe for absolute disaster. Jeff Jacobson, that is not a disastrous move from himself on Nick Tullo down into turn number 2. Got that move done in rather clean nature. So let's see how some of these battles are going to shake out right towards the end of this race. Jason Green and Nate Coliseum once again battling tooth and nail for the final podium spot down into the corkscrew. Yet again, it's a case of deja vu with these drivers going side by side through that section. The white flag going to be in the air though for Felix Samoza and Tortolo. They're covered by 1/10 of a second, heading down into turn number 11 at the very end of this race. 28 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock of this 30-minute long race. So the white flag will be in the air for Felix Samoas, and he's going to find it with a side-by-side fight with himself and Tortolo, heading down that start-finish straightaway, cresting the hill through turn number 1, down into the Andretti hairpin for the last time in this race. One of the premier overtaking opportunities, one of the premier defensive opportunities for Felix Samoas to hold on to the race lead.
Yeah, this is going to be the one where you need to get it done. And honestly, being behind the leader is usually where you want to be here. So Tom's in a really good spot. I would imagine he's going to try to get it done through the corkscrew. It's probably the last opportunity to get it done, but we know Felix is going to be waiting for that. He knows it's coming. Same thing with these guys back here. They pretty much have one chance to get this done, and let's hope they do it clean, Ron, because it's been a really, really clean race for these guys so far. Hopefully they can make something clean happen here, but let's jump back up front. I think we're going to see a move starting to happen here. We have a bit of maybe an incident from Tor there.
I think he may have tried to go for the move hang down into turn number 5. That's another challenging bend around this racetrack. He lost out on time temporarily, but with that run coming at turn number 6, up that Rahal straightaway into the corkscrew for the last time. Tortolo holding onto that inside line through the braking zone. Samoa's going to switch back to the inside line now. Tolo having a dive out of it. He's going to have a dream series of corners if he wants to get another shot at Samoa's to take the race lead. The battle behind is still flaring up. Andrew Love and Alan DeGassis were going side by side. Kane Lasky still looking out of existence. Jason Green will be your P3 finisher if we can hang on to that spot, as Tolo looking for a move around the outside into the final corner. He's not going to have the run through the corner. He's not going to have the good exit coming out of it. If that start finish straightaway was about a mile farther up the road, it'd probably be Tolo's, but Samoa is going to grab another win this season.
Yeah, that was a great last lap here. We'll have to come back and check these guys. Wow, that was a really close one between Lasky and Green there. We will get a replay of that here momentarily, but amazing race there up at the front. Some really good driving. That just to hang it out around the outside like that for Felix into the corkscrew. What a ballsy maneuver. He was able to hold it together and get that done. Great move.
And I said it was another win. Despite the pace that Felix Samoas has shown thus far this season, that was his first win this season here on the Formula V Weekend Warriors. So well done to Samoas, and my apologies for saying that it was another win from him. No, that's his first. Well done to Felix Samoas. That's going to give us our 6th Spec 1 winner thus far this season. As we take a look at this finish, Jason Green trying to play the commentator's jinx right as I said that P3 was going to be his. He runs wide coming out of turn number 10. That's going to spell disaster. It allows Lasky to close up a little bit. He doesn't go for the move hang down to turn 11. He waits for this run to the start-finish line. They're side by side. There's that start-finish line. It was a matter of feet. Lasky nearly got that move done.
A couple other ones here too. We'll have a look. Yep, that was as close as she gets there without actually taking it. We got another one here with Perry and Parent on the last lap here as well. Lots of great driving through the corkscrew here today. Some really good driving from our drivers today. Side by side still through the last section of the course here. Let's see how this one ends up, and it looks like Parent was able to sweep in front of Jason. I don't think he is going to have a run to be able to get her done here, but that was some pretty awesome dicing back and forth there as well. Let's take a look here maybe from DeGassis's view of the end of the race here as well, Ron. So close.
Yeah, it was super close between these two competitors all throughout the race. DeGassis, your winner in the Masters class. Andrew Love, your winner in Spec 2. They nearly just wiped themselves out heading off through turn number 10. It is so inviting to go for a move heading off through there. It's got that small little bit of bowling effect you talked about earlier on in your track guide, Josh. That has a bit of positive camber helping you out through there, but that could have ended in an absolute disaster if those two drivers connected and came to blows. Probably would have seen one of those Formula V Weekend Warriors race cars go barrel rolling through the gravel. As here's Michelle Lynn's perspective of an absolutely titanic battle between Guido Marzucchi, who started this race nearly with a round of bowling down into turn number 2, and Ethan Orr, who was your hard charger at the end of this race, making his way up 5 spots from the drop of the green flag all the way through to the fall of the checkered. It was a pretty close battle involving these competitors, though, right at the end of this race. I think it's Michelle Lynn and Guido Marzucchi, who we need to keep our eyes on in this replay. They exit the hairpin. You can see Michelle, not all those drivers running off into the gravel. Holy cow. And you can see she has that run. You can hear the Jaws theme playing. She pulls out to get that move done. Not close enough at the line, but still a bit of overlap between Marzuki and Lynn at the end of that race.
Yeah, a bunch of battles at the end of the race there. Just impossible to keep up with everything. What race? This place always does race fairly well, and it looks like everybody's come to grips with the track and stuff. Much better than I could drive it, that's for sure. But some awesome driving out there from everybody. Some great action between all of the classes there. What a great race today, Ron.
Yeah, that was an absolute barn burner here at Laguna Seca. I'm wondering what these drivers may be doing when it comes to the jumps, because I kind of said that I wasn't necessarily dreading it, but
somebody's upside down.
So that's I think that's Jason upside
That's
down.
Jason.
There.
Yeah, let's see if we can't find out how
teeter-tottering
that
on the
happened.
wheel. I think he's maybe trying to turn himself back up, or he's just like inching his way into that small little gap in the concrete barrier so he can clear himself up off the track. He's in a very precarious situation as it stands presently. One driver comes in and he's probably going to get pinged off into low Earth orbit. Let's take a look at this from another Jason. This is Jason Perry, and hits that curb, and oh my god!
My goodness, salacious impact. Oh, and then a bunch more are looking good. Jeez.
Kurt Nunez just coming in. Oh, there's Perry
Like a
stuck
missile.
in the fence. His motor's blowing up, and it looks like a smoke machine on the wall.
Yeah, Nunez went in there like a torpedo for sure. Let's see if we can't find a shot of that, actually, maybe from his perspective. No, a little bit too late on that one. Yep, we like to bring them down at the end of the race here. Always a good time. You can't do this in real life, or you'd be, well, you'd be taking a trip to the hospital and have a gigantic dent in your wallet at the end of the day. But we like to do it because it's a sim and it's fun. Why not?
Hey, it's iRacing. You gotta do it for the hell of it at the end of the day, and those drivers having some fun here at Laguna Seca. Here's the moment for Nunez. He hit the wall and got bounced back with just about the same amount of speed. You can see some of those drivers in the aerial acrobatics. Bang! That's Nunez straight into the tires. Holy cow, that was a hit.
See if we can get Tor as well. Oh, I have a feeling this one's going to be good as well. We got somebody popped up in the air super high. I'm not sure. Nope, didn't quite.
I think that was Guido.
I think it was Guido, wasn't it?
Yeah, that may have been Guido. Someone went in for the farther bit of the runoff area. It's a bit staggered through the runoff area into the corkscrew. It is a little bit farther on the outside. Nonetheless, here's Marzuki, and it's up, bang! Oh, he lawn darted into those tire barriers and nearly cleared the fence. Holy crap, holy.
See if we can get a slow-mo of Ethan Orr here, too. And then we should probably look for some interviews. It looks like we got Andrew Love up in the booth. There we got. Oh, hit the. That was an awkward one. Oh, and some good shots of everybody else hitting the wall there as well. Yeah, let's see if we can't pull in. It looks like we have maybe. Oh, we got Samoas in there now too. So looks like we're starting to gather a few interviews here. If I can't pull up the start of the race and see if we can't get some interviews there on.
I think I'm probably going to give myself the privilege of interviewing our race winner at the end of this race here at Laguna Seca, Mr. Felix Samoas, who had a dream start. You could see dicing it from the drop of the green flag and was able to get the win at the end of this race. And let's see if we can have a chat with a driver of the number 31 car at the end of it all here. Felix, welcome into the booth and congratulations on your first win here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors. Happy to talk us through it.
Oh, excuse me. I was just thinking, well, actually, it's my second win this season, right?
I'm looking through.
I won.
I was gonna say I called it as your as not your first win as you crossed the line, but I'm looking at my chart here.
Didn't I win Magny-Cours? I don't remember. I think.
I believe you were involved in the battle for the win at Magny-Cours, but I think you had a spin.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I didn't. No, you're right. It's probably my first win. Yeah, I was confused. Sorry. With don't
worry. I was confused as well. No worries. No worries, Felix.
Well, it was fun. I mean, I didn't expect to beat Thor, to be honest, because we all know how he is so surgical for these close finishes. It was a shame that so early in the race the pack got split due to that unfortunate pin from Samuel. And then not much. I didn't want to just stay back, so we kind of passed each other. It was just waiting for the last lap, basically. So we just between the two of us, and then in the end, I knew he was gonna try that. From the moment, like the last couple of laps, he didn't try to pass me. He was just hanging back, so I knew he was gonna try that. Yeah, and then it worked out for me good in the going up the hill for the corkscrew. He didn't get to pass me completely, and I could go around on the outside, and then also for the last corner. So for the braking, yeah, and that is it. I needed a good race because I had a pretty bad run of bad luck for the last couple of weekends, so it was good to finally have a good result.
Yeah, I know, kind of getting back to the small little thing that I raised at the start of this interview, how it's a little bit surprising that this is your first win of the season. You've been quick week in and week out, these Formula V cars seeming to mesh with you rather well. So kicking off the second half of this season in pretty good style, what are your goals for the rest of the season? You think you're gonna try and dice it for maybe a top 3 in the point standings, or what's gonna be the goal for the final 5 weeks?
I honestly don't have a goal. I just want to have a bit of fun in these races. I mean, even just joining the league was kind of unexpected. I didn't plan, but this season I decided, okay, let's just try this, and I didn't expect to go so well. So I think the top 3 it's within reach from me. It's not really a goal. I mean, I just want to have races like today and some other fun races, others not so much, but that's it. So I think a top 3, yeah, you can call that.
And a good thing about this race is getting your sight in for the Formula Ford race coming up tomorrow here on SMB at this exact same racetrack. Is there anything that you can really draw from this experience running in the Formula Vs, you think, towards that Formula Ford race tomorrow, or were you just out here to have a little bit of fun?
Yeah, I mean, the Formula 4s, I'm still first in the championship, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that will last for much longer. Again, same as the Formula Vs, I didn't plan to join. It was just kind of an impulse at the start of the season. And it's going well, but I don't know if I will be able to do all the Formula 4 races, because 2 races in a row at Sunday, sometimes it's not something I can do. But so far I've been able to do it. For the race at this track with the Formula 4, to be honest, I haven't driven a single lap yet with the Formula 4 here. So I don't know. I mean, I expect to have a decent pace, but yeah, that's all I can say so far. I like this track. Normally I do well here, so.
And looking forward to seeing you hit this racetrack again in less than 24 hours time for that Formula Ford Weekend Warriors race tomorrow here on SMB, where I have the return of an old friend in place of Mr. Charles Michel in the other booth. But Felix, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth. Congratulations on a win here at Laguna Seca. And before we let you go, is there anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
I mean, as usual, to everybody in the league, especially to Michelle. She helped me a bit with setups. I mean, she's the guru of the Formula V setup, and the organizers, the admins, they had a lot of trouble keeping this thing running and have a clean race weekend after weekend. So it's a lot of work for them and for you guys there at the commentary booth. Again, I've said this so many times, I keep saying it's always fun to go back and watch, and even when I cannot race, just to watch the races. I cannot race, that's what I mean.
Well, very happy to hear that you are a subscriber to the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube
Yes,
channel. And hey, anyone tuning into this broadcast who isn't subscribed, that gives you a good reason to subscribe, so you can join the club that includes our race winner at the end of this race. Felix, well done on the victory, and excites you back out on the track for the Formula Fords and the Spec Race of Fords tomorrow here on SMB.
Thank you. I hope to speak with you again tomorrow.
I have a feeling we may. Hopefully I didn't just jinx you.
All right, guys. Have a nice.
And that right there was Felix Samoa's your winner at the end of this race here at Laguna Seca. And Josh, I will give you the opportunity to catch up with our Spec 2 winner at the end of this race, Mr. Andrew Love.
Yeah, sounds good. We got him in the booth here. Hey, Mr. Love, how's it going today? Good win in S2. You were really in a hornet's nest pretty much that entire race with pretty much the lead pack. I like to kind of be in those situations. We were talking about it a little bit where you can kind of sit back. Your result's going to be good sort of either way, but you can also monopolize on things. Is that kind of how you're looking at that as well?
Oh, 100%. I enjoy being the last car in whatever pack I'm in, just so I don't have to worry about things behind me. And I was very happy to be in the second pack. I had a really good qualifying. I qualified well, and then a couple guys got past me at the start, and a couple laps in, I was getting passed, but I was able to stay with the pack. And I was just having a blast up there. I'm still shaking. I'm still nervous. I'm still shaking. I still have the adrenaline flowing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right on. Yeah, it definitely looked like that kind of race there for sure. You guys were cutting shapes back and forth. You're watching passes and stuff happen in front of you. Everybody driving really nice and clean and staying off each other, and some pretty aggressive moves and stuff happening around you and from yourself as well, and everybody staying off each other really well. This track's always been oh, sorry, go ahead. Shoot.
Yeah, I can't believe how I didn't take Alan out like 3 or 4 times. I was so close to him going through the corkscrew or going through one of the corners that I was almost positive that I had nudged him enough to spin him around, but I'm really glad it didn't happen.
Yeah, for sure. There was a lot of really, really close racing throughout the whole field, too. I'm sure if you go back and watch it later there, it was hard to keep up with the last lap. Everybody, there's passing everywhere in the corkscrew, and pretty awesome. I've always sort of struggled around here to keep my pace the entire race. I think my issue is just kind of charging into corners a little too much and not worrying about my exits. Is that something you have an issue with around here as well? I just always seem to wear out my fronts and start understeering for some reason.
For me, it's just the mental game. Last night during our practice for the what is it called, the Draft Masters, whatever we call ourselves, I was fine the first half hour of the event last night, and then I just started pushing it, and I was off on the left, I was off on the right, and I was just bouncing off the curb. So I took a half-hour break and came back to it and tried the race, and I was still bouncing over the curbs and through the gravel traps and stuff. But today it didn't happen for me. I was pretty lucky to stay between the white lines.
Excellent. Yeah, I sort of have the same problem around here. I was saying to Ron in the run-up, I'm able to get kind of fast laps, but I just not able to hold it together for a whole race for some reason. But you did an excellent job today, Andrew. Kept it nice and clean, right up there with the pointy end of the field and stuff too. So finding some pace these days. Is there anybody out there you'd like to thank?
I want to thank Russell. I believe Russell was the sponsor, so thank you, Russell. And I still need to officially apologize for taking him out a couple weeks ago at Session Rig. But yeah, so yeah, thank you, Russell, and thank you guys for doing the broadcast, and thanks Jim and Stevie for doing the league, and I guess Michelle is an admin in there too, so thank you, Michelle. Always great to run in the pack I was in. I had a lot of fun up there. I was happy to be up there with those guys.
Excellent. Right on, Andrew. So great race, and thanks for the shout outs there, and we'll see you next week.
All right, sure will. All right, see you guys.
Have a good one.
And that right there was our Spec 2 winner at the end of this race, Andrew Love. That Spec 2 class is always super competitive here in the Weekend Warriors, but incidentally, that's his first win of this season, although he has been very quick all season long. But Josh, gonna be heading to another tight, twisty, and technical track, albeit one with a couple more flat-out blast. Oschersleben, one of the newer tracks, switched over to base content here on the iRacing platform. I think we ran here 2 or 3 seasons ago with the Formula V's, so I think that's going to be a pretty good race in 1 week's time. What do you think?
Yeah, it's another one of those pretty technical tracks there that offers up some pretty unique stuff, and yeah, I think we'll have an excellent race there as well. Maybe a little bit less drafting than usual, so it's nice to see a good mix this season. Not quite so many draft tracks and stuff as well. Getting a pretty good mix, so I think Oschersleben will be a good test for these guys for sure. Great racing today too. I should mention as well, just seeing in the chat here, that this actually is Felix Samoa's second win in the V's, because he won week 13 actually a few weeks ago. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but I'm just noticing it in the chat here. I wanted to get that out. So he is starting to get pretty pointy in the V's.
Yeah, I mean, Technically speaking, it is his second win in the FVs. In terms of points races, though, it is his first. And if we want to break into technicalities, we can look back into the days of like 2020 with the other Formula V Weekend Warriors series. This series has been around for quite some time. And Felix, a couple of weeks ago, I believe, in fact, probably a month ago at this point, celebrated his 5-year anniversary of racing in these Weekend Warriors. A very quick driver and your winner at the end of this race here at Laguna Seca. And I think with all that being said, let's take a look at the results at the end of it all here at Laguna Seca. Felix Samoa's grabbing your first win, well, his first win of this season, denying Tortello his third. That's going to be music to the ears of your P3 finisher of Jason Green. He only finished 0.05 of a second in front of Nate Colascio in fourth. Nope, it was Kane Lasky in fourth. Nate Colascio finished in fifth. Whoop, there we go. So, gang, that corrected there for me. Andrew Love is your winner in Spec 2. Just heard from him a couple of moments ago. Alan DeGassis is your winner in the Masters category. Yet another win for Alan. I think it's going to be a dogfight between himself and Jim Brewster for the Spec, not the Spec 2, the Masters Championship here in Season 2 of 2025. He ends up 7th, your Masters winner at the end of this race. Ethan Orr is slotted behind in P8. Guido Marzuki in 9th, with Michelle Lynn running at her top 10.
Yeah, and then after that, we got Samuel Perrin. I believe a bit of a falling anvil there beginning of the race. Did a pretty good recovery drive there to almost get back into the top 10. Jason Perry making a lot of good moves out there today in 12th place. Parvinder Ladar as well, getting in some pretty good battles. Jim Brewster in 14th. Jeff Jacobson, unfortunately, getting a little bit spicy there with Jim Brewster ending up finishing in 15th, just behind him. We got Kurt Nunez in 16th. In 17th, Jason Grider. And in last place and in 18th, Travis Rail. Oh, no, sorry, that's not last place today, was it? Let's see if we can't bring up the next page. There we go. James Sheldon, who we saw actually just get, unfortunately, center punch there. I believe it was on the second lap, so didn't have a very great showing today from Sheldon there, getting caught up in an incident. Nick Tullo in 20th. Spencer Bodwin, again, still seems to be coming to terms with the car here, 5 laps down in 21st. Christopher Siriano in 22nd. Russell Telker, our sponsor for today's race. Thank you so much, Russell. In 23rd, unfortunately, falling anvils for him from Mom's Basement Racing. 17 laps down, and then David Tamira, 18 laps down, who I believe didn't start the race. Or maybe it was on the first lap.
Correct. Yeah, he didn't even start the formation lap, which is unfortunate for Tamira. Very quick driver. We've gotten the opportunity to cover him in the past, and one of the first Indonesian racers I've gotten the opportunity to commentate on races with as well. So hopefully we'll be able to see many of those drivers on track for the next round of this championship at Alschersleben in just 1 week's time. We got more action coming up for you here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, because have it be known, the action simply does not stop here at SMB. For Wednesdays, you can catch the action from the Sim Racers Group Intermediate F4 Championship. I'm actually going to be on the broadcast this upcoming week, and that's going to be pretty fun. It's a pretty good race for Oran Park this upcoming week for them, so hopefully all of you will be able to tune into that broadcast at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have the action from a brand new series that just started this past week, the Extreme Motorsports IndyCar Championship Series. One race already done at Portland. 60 laps of racing action was done there a couple of days ago. That was a barn burner of a race, but we head to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course this upcoming week for them. You can look through the rest of the schedule. Some absolutely fantastic racetracks: the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Oval, Long Beach, Barber Auto Club, Daytona on the road course, and Gateway Worldwide Technology Raceway to bring that 8-race championship to a conclusion. That's the action you can catch on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then come time for the weekends, we have got you covered with the Formula Vs at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday. And then for the Sundays, we've got you with the Formula Fords at 1:45 and the Spec Race Fords at 3:45. That doesn't even do it for the racing action on Sundays, though, as sporadically on Sunday nights, you can catch the action from XSLR. They aren't running this week. In fact, they're actually going to be having a non-championship race tonight here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, with some Indy cars running around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Oval. Hey, if you're not topped up on the IndyCar action after only one race from the XMS ICS series, you can catch the action from some of the XSLR drivers just having a good, fun day there. And interestingly enough, one of our old pals in the world of the Weekend Warriors, a great man who, in the process of vacating the booth, gave me the opportunity to get in here and forge a legacy as being the true loudmouth to end all loudmouths. Mr. Tim Cox will be on the call for that broadcast, so hopefully all of you will be able to tune into that later on this evening here on Slow Motion Broadcasting.
I believe that actually is tomorrow. Just to correct you, sorry, the Indy race actually is tomorrow. There's a practice tonight, though, at 8 p.m. EST. Gotcha. So it is tomorrow in the same slot that we would usually be having the XSLR races, I believe. But yeah, we're having basically fun race, but it will be televised, and Tim Cox coming in to do that one for us. So make sure you tune into that one. Should be a good time. I may even be out there racing if my back will allow me to do so.
And that'll be pretty fun. We saw you out on track a couple of weeks ago for XSLR with the Pro 4 trucks at Crandon, and that was a pretty fun spectacle.
Great series.
I'll have to look through that broadcast and get any sort of clips. Those jumpy trucks always are super fun here on the iRacing platform. But yeah, that just about does it for this broadcast here of the Formula V Weekend Warriors, round number 7 at Laguna Seca. And with all that being said, I can just wrap it up with this. For myself, Ron Maunz, and Joshua Wilkie, working the comms and the cams with me on today's broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast here on SMB today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future. Season 1 of 2025. Let's see what sort of adventures that it has in store. And pace cars way through the corner. That wasn't the crest doing him dirty.
There right off the beginning. It's something you probably want to monopolize on right away, honestly, in a rain race.
Involved in that as well. Godin, I believe, is a newer racer. Oh, that's a big crash coming out of the corner. Right as I was mentioning all of those racers, that we saw him have that off-track moment not terribly long ago, and he has come back from a... Oh my God, that's a big wreck coming out of turn number 4. Multiple cars around, a little bit of contact going to Chris Montgomery as well. I saw that car kind of jerk around a little bit through that corner, but you can see Montgomery maybe got to size up a move on Coliseo, as Coliseo may try and get a move on him.
is 5-6 cars covered by just about nothing on this racetrack. Nearly 4 wide through the corner. Look at Coliseum going in way deep into turn 5. He's going to lose out on that spot on Chris Montgomery and maybe Coliseum. Too long contact being... Weekly Formula V Weekend Warriors crash him up Wreckfest at the checkered flag. May God have mercy on both Josh and I's graphics cards because the event does